Yeah, and I'll talk about critique a little bit just because I'm on a forum and this is a subject that comes up a lot. And I will let you know what critique is like in art school. And it's not always pleasant, but it should always be helpful. It should always help you grow, even if it feels a little bit bad in the moment. Usually critiques are done by peers, people who, are doing the same work as you. You guys are all learning together. That person is learning, looking at your artwork, and you're learning, listening to them. And people will have ideas, and they'll have criticisms that you might not agree with and you might not like, but you can't throw it away. Critique is a gift. So let's say you're taking, I don't know, life drawing or conceptual sculpture or something. Your professor gives you a project to do, gives you a task. And everybody in your class is doing the same exact thing. And there's an objective, You're supposed to be learning how to play with light and space, or you're supposed to be learning about perspective, or you're supposed to be learning about color theory. And this homework helps you do that. And it also helps you make art. A lot of artists, believe it or not, very creative people, the one thing they have a hard time doing is actually sitting down and making the art. Not everybody, but some people. And when you get a project, it kind of inspires you. It gives you an idea. And sometimes you think, oh my God, I don't have an idea. They want me to what with what? I've got to go to an old bike shop and I can only spend $50 on bike parts, and I have to make something that is figurative out of this stuff that represents art in the golden age. How the heck am I going to do that? And that whole anxiety and that whole I don't think I can and how am I going to do that? It feels really icky for a minute, but then all of a sudden things start to click together and you start sketching and you start thinking and you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning with an idea and you go down to the bike shop and you start looking in places that people wouldn't normally look for, things that really don't even say bike. You're looking for pieces that might have a curve to them, or you're looking for pieces that are a certain color, made out of a certain material. Or you tell yourself, okay, I'm supposed to go to the bike shop, but I don't want to make anything out of metal. But bike tires are made out of rubber, so maybe I would just buy a bunch of old beat up rubber tires and I'll just make it out of the tires. It gets your creative muscles exercised. And you might spend a month making this thing, and you might think, I have nailed this. I'm bringing this to critique. Everybody's going to think I'm a genius. And you get there and it's crickets. And you go, oh, crap. You let them know a little bit. You don't give them the whole story because you want people to think for themselves and feel for themselves and have their own ideas. But you kind of let them in on a little bit, and you say something like, when I created this sculpture, I was thinking about Nike, and I was thinking about those wings, and I was thinking about flight, and I was thinking about no arms but wings, and movement, and bicycle parts are moving. You have to do it subtly because, again, you don't want to influence them too much. You just want to give them a little idea where you were coming from. And then they look at it and they walk around, and if they have permission, they touch it. And then they might say, this makes me feel, instead of flight and light and movement, this feels weighted. This feels heavy to me. It feels like I can't breathe. It feels like I'm stuck. Did you think of maybe, using less of a solid material, and maybe using something that was just a little more light and suspending this part here to give this illusion of movement? Sometimes ideas are really great, and sometimes you thought of them and you had a reason why you didn't do that. And you don't go into critique making excuses. You just say, yeah, thanks, that sounds great. Yeah, no, I didn't think about that. Oh, that, you're very gracious. This person is taking their time and they're going out on a limb, and you're all on the same page and you're all equal. And you're not going to learn anything if you don't listen. And it might not feel good in the moment, but you might go home later and say, gosh, why didn't I think about that? That really is a good idea. And you might go home and change it or whatever. You might go in the bathroom and cry on, and you try harder next time and you do better next time. And it might be split. Some people will say, wow, this is amazing. And some people might say, it just doesn't work for me, you know. And you want that. If you get a mix of responses, that's a lot of information. It's important. It is valuable. Very, very valuable. And that's critique. Critique isn't getting on YouTube and saying, oh, look, she missed varnishing right here. That's it. I'm going to have to take this whole baby apart and make it better. I can fix this. That's arrogance. And honestly, between you and me and 8 million other people on YouTube, that's just being an asshole. And so I found myself coming across a couple of those videos, and I watched a couple of them trying to understand it. And in the end, I just said, no, I'm not even going to watch and participate in this monkey business. And if somebody does it to me, that says more about them than it says about me. I'm just not going to go down that road and feel crappy or feel scared or feel intimidated by someone else's mean behavior. That's ugly. That's just ugly. If it's, you know, if you're a client or somebody who has purchased a baby from somewhere and the baby just wasn't what you expected, and it just doesn't feel right, and you feel like, I don't know, maybe you feel like you're taken advantage of, or maybe you just misunderstood what they were trying to sell you, or whatever. You know, you go to the artist, just shoot them an email and say, hey, you know, I got the baby arrived safely. I would like to talk a little bit more about what happened here. I'm not happy, and this is why. Can we talk about this? I think if you're working with an artist who has integrity and is honest, they'll work with you because they want you to be happy. Not because they want you to give them great reviews. That's part of it. But if somebody calls you and says, this baby this is not at all what I expected, and I am really disappointed, and this is why. And it can't be, oh, I was expecting honey blonde hair, not pale blonde hair. I'm sorry. I'm going to play with this baby for a little while, and then I'm going to return it to you, and I want a full refund. That's not what I'm talking about. Or I ordered this baby, I got excited, stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning, ordered this baby impulsively because I really wanted one, and I had a glass of wine, and I got up the nerve to finally order it. It came in, my husband said, what, are you crazy? You paid what for this doll? Send it back. That's not a reason to get a refund, and that is not a reason to make trouble for an artist or make an artist feel bad. You know, your impulse buy or your buyer's remorse, that belongs to you. That's not something that an artist is responsible for. And I'm not trying to be unkind. I mean, have a glass of wine and shop away at 2 in the morning. But you need to own that. Trust me. I've done it. I haven't ever like gone drunk shopping before, but I have had insomnia before, and I'm up and I have purchased things. The next day I went, why did I buy that? What was I thinking? Oh my gosh. But, you know, I did, and it's mine, and I gotta own it. Yeah, online shopping can be a black hole. Watch out for that, especially late at night if you can't sleep. Especially if you've already put your credit card into Amazon or your PayPal information into like Amazon, and you have that instant buy option. Oh, it's like gun laws, you know what I mean? They're designed to give you a couple of days. So if you get like really mad, oh, you know, not that normal people should do that, and I would never do that, but there are people who get very angry, and if they had a weapon at their disposal, They might use it impulsively and make a big mistake. You know, that waiting time between the time you say, I need to have that gun, and the time you get that gun, gives you a little cool off time. And that's kind of a weird example. I don't know why that came up in my head, mostly because I watched the news earlier today. But same thing with that stupid buy now button. By the time if I have to put my credit card in, by the time I found out wherever my bag is, I fished through and found the credit card that I wanted. I found my glasses. I punched in the number. I might change my mind on that purchase. So I try not to have that instant pay option. I watched a video, and I put it out on some forums that I belong to. Some local news channel did a report on a sweet little lady who was aging, and she aged out of her job, which she loved, and she was working in a daycare center, and she was, you know, alone and isolated and lonely and depressed and having some health issues. And I don't know how she got hold of one, but she got herself what she called a reborn doll. Really what it was one of those, what is it called? There were those dolls that they used in high schools for a while to teach kids about life skills. And you had to carry it around, and it cried, you know, and you had to attend to its needs and take it everywhere. And it was kind of old and ratty, and she loved that thing so much. Oh my gosh. And she said it really helped her. It gave her purpose every day. She took good care of him, and it just made her life happier. And I watched that and I thought, oh, I know that some people are watching this going, what a freak. Oh my God, what's up with that? You know, you're going to have people like that because they don't understand how beautiful that is. I don't care if it's an ugly, ratty old doll. She loved it in it, and it brought her some comfort and made her happy. She saw past, you know, all the imperfection of that doll, and he was just her baby, you know. He was her Velveteen Rabbit, just this loved, cherished object. And I thought it was so beautiful. Now, that's the stuff I love to see. Anybody making these babies. I mean, there are a lot of people who think, oh, I'm going to make $1 million making reborn dolls. Look at how much. They sell those dolls for $900. I'm about to get rich. All I need to do is figure out how to slap a little paint on one of those babies. You're going to have those. You're always going to have those in anything. But I think for the most part, people who are really into this art form do it because it's a way to not just make art, but to make art that makes people happy at a different level. I mean, you know, you can make a painting and somebody can really appreciate that, and it can evoke a really beautiful response. And that's a way of making people happy. But with these babies, it's different. For me anyway, I think. This is improving the quality of somebody's life sometimes. And I have no judgment about it at all. Whatever works. Nobody ever gives somebody a bad time because they spent a year building, you know, some vintage hot rod, and it makes them happy, and it go out there and work on it every night, and they give it a name, and they love it, and you know, it becomes this obsession. Nobody ever says, what a freak that guy is. They say, what a cool car. And I think it's the same for these babies. It's no different than anything else that brings people happiness. And what I'm doing now is putting an extra layer of toenails on this baby because when I took it to the oven, it looks like a couple of these toenails got a little bit rubbed off. And again, I don't think anybody would have noticed, but I noticed.